going into a drought, the further ahead you can predict or anticipate and start to make moves, the better off you are. So if you're right into it and haven't got a plan to deal with it, then your decisions get made for you rather than you being in control. Plan A is to manage the grass as well as we can, to be as healthy as we can, and that's our first line of defense. We've seen scenarios where we got really dry. For instance, this summer the grass essentially quit growing by the middle of July, but when it got moisture it really responded. So that's kind of the first, that grazing management is the first level of drought defense. And then being able to destock. If you have your ranch loaded up with just cow-calf pairs and somebody's got to go, a lot of times those cows will go to discount if it's in a drought. So you're limited on your options to market them. So by having yearlings ready to go, then they go at full value. So that's the second line. Then I guess it's good relationships with your neighbors, because we have been able over the years to get feed for the cattle by putting electric fence around a crop that's failing or failed, been hailed or droughted or froze. And we've done that several times over the years, and you know, it provides some cash flow for them and provides us feed at a reasonable price that we think works for us too. So electric fence and being able to haul water sometimes are huge tools in where you can go and get feed. It's always cheapest to graze the feed wherever it's growing. I keep a pretty close track on what I think our soil moisture is. I've got 20 years now of our own rainfall records, and they're not very scientific, but they're taking the rain gauge and making notes. We've actually got all that on a graph. We can see, and what it shows is that we can get all kinds of moisture or no moisture in any given month. You know, this August we had 5 inches of rain. We've had an August with no rain. So it's, you know, it's about being adaptable and understanding the consequences. We've had great moisture this August, September, but this grass is growing. So this land is going to go into the winter relatively dry compared to the cropland around it. So when you hear Alberta agriculture or whatnot talking about soil moisture, they're talking about in cropland that didn't use all that fall moisture where our pastures have. So we try to be very aware of what that soil moisture is. Having smaller paddocks and moving has been a real tool in being able to sort of manage optimally for what we've got to work with. We've got our place carved up into 20-acre paddocks, so that's a huge advantage because we can turn our herd in there, and we know in a couple of days whether that paddock has 2 days feed or 3 days or 2.5, and then you can look at the paddocks going forward and have a pretty good idea of what you've got. So much quicker assessment than if you turned them into a section of grass and tried to guess how long it was going to last. One of the drought management strategies, or just plain pasture productivity strategies, is we have a strong legume mix in all our tame pastures, all our seeded pastures. So we started out at 50% with these pastures 15 years ago, and some of that has backed off maybe to 30 or 25% now, and we're thinking about reseeding or introducing some more legumes, but having a legume that's, well, now in the case of alfalfa, that may be deeper rooted, so it will be productive later or long after the grass has quit growing. You've still got alfalfa that will keep growing. So lots of times in the second graze or the fall graze, it's a lot of alfalfa that's being harvested in these lands. And the legumes provide a lot of nitrogen to keep that pasture kind of self-sufficient in nutrients. So we've got 15, 17-year-old pastures that have never seen fertilizer, but for an inch of rain are virtually as productive now as they were 15 years ago. So that's sustainable, ongoing productivity. Without legumes, you can't do it. I think it was 04. We were in trouble, and I went to bed lots of nights trying to figure out how we were going to get through this and what the pathway would be. And in the end, I decided either we were going to get rain and grow grass, or the crops around us were going to fail and turn into feed. But that's a faith thing. Like, you can't manage that. That's just the way it will be. Like, our pasture plan gets reevaluated. If we go for 2 weeks without a rain, it gets reevaluated. If we get a big rain, it gets reevaluated, because we know our resources change. So we're dancing with nature, and the dance is on all the time.